The research vessel Kethmorin floated dead in space.
Oh.
Its metal hull twisted and burned from the explosion that had destroyed everything. Dr. Silex. Vorthok pressed his blue-scaled hand against the thick glass window, staring out at the stars that seemed so far away now. His large yellow eyes reflected the dim emergency lights that flickered on and off throughout the ship. Behind him, the bridge was filled with quiet voices and the soft beeping of dying machines. The crew moved slowly, like people in a bad dream they could not wake up from. Some were tall and thin with gray skin, others were shorter with fur covering their bodies, and a few had scales like Vorthok. All of them were aliens from different worlds, but now they were all the same. They were all going to die together in the cold darkness of space. "Life support is down to 37%, said Navigation Officer Thyron. Her voice was flat and empty, like all hope had drained out of her. She was one of the gray-skinned people, with long fingers that moved across her control panel, even though nothing could be fixed anymore. The air recycler stopped working on floors for 7. We have maybe 2 days left, maybe 3 if we are lucky. Vorthok closed his eyes and felt sick. 847 people lived on this ship. Scientists, explorers, doctors, engineers, the best and brightest from 3 different alien races working together to explore the galaxy. Now all of them would die because of one terrible moment of bad luck. It had happened so fast. One minute they were traveling through space using their jump drive, moving faster than light toward a new star system to study. The next minute, something impossible appeared in front of them, a ball of twisted energy that looked like it was eating space itself. The thing had reached out like a hungry monster and grabbed their ship, tearing apart the jump drive and leaving them stranded millions of miles from home. "Send out the emergency signal," Captain Thyron ordered from her chair. She was old, even for her long-lived species, and had been exploring space for over 200 years. But Vorthok could see in her tired eyes that she had never faced anything like this before. "Use all frequencies. Maximum power. Someone might hear us." The communications officer, a furry creature named Bix, worked at his station with shaking hands. His people were usually cheerful and optimistic, but now his ears drooped and his tail hung limp behind him. "Signal ready, Captain," he said in a small voice. "This is the Zenthari vessel, Kethmorin." Captain Thyron spoke into the microphone, her words being broadcast across space in all directions. "Our jump drive has been destroyed by an unknown energy phenomenon. Life support systems are failing. We are stranded in the Outer Rim territories. Coordinate 7-7-Alpha-9-9-Beta. 847 souls aboard. Anyone receives this message... Her voice broke slightly. "Please remember that we tried to make the galaxy a better place." The message flew out from their ship at the speed of light, racing through the emptiness toward distant stars. But Vorthok knew it was hopeless. They were so far from home, so far from any known civilization. The chances of someone hearing their call for help were almost zero. And even if someone did hear them, who would be crazy enough to travel this far into unexplored space to help strangers? Ship's lights dimmed even more as automatic systems shut down to save power. In the corridors, people sat in small groups, holding each other and talking quietly. Some were writing final messages to send home if rescue ever came. Others were singing soft songs from their home worlds. The children were the hardest to watch. They did not fully understand what was happening, but they could feel the fear and sadness of the adults around them. Vorthok walked through the medical bay where he worked, checking on the sick and injured. Many crew members were already having trouble breathing as the air grew thin and stale. His medical supplies were running low, and soon he would not be able to help anyone. He had dedicated his life to healing and saving others. But now he was powerless to save even himself in the ship's main garden. Where they grew food and flowers to remind them of home, the plants were already beginning to wilt without proper air circulation. The artificial sunlight flickered weakly, and some of the beautiful flowers from different worlds were closing their petals as if they too could sense the approaching end. Young crew members who had joined the mission full of excitement and dreams now sat quietly in the observation lounges, watching the stars and thinking about families they would never see again. The ship that had once been filled with laughter, discovery, and hope now felt like a tomb drifting through space. As the hours passed, Warthog returned to the bridge and stood next to Captain Thyron. They did not speak. There was nothing left to say. Their emergency signal continued to broadcast into the void, a small voice crying out in the vast darkness, hoping against hope that somewhere, someone might hear them and care enough to help. But space was silent, and the stars offered no answers. They could only wait and hope that their end would come peacefully, and that someday someone might find their ship and know that they had tried their best to explore the unknown and bring knowledge back to their people. The Kethmoran continued its slow drift through space, carrying its dying crew toward whatever fate awaited them in the cold darkness between the stars. Lieutenant Commander Park Jin-ho was drinking his third cup of coffee when the computers started making noise. He sat up straight in his chair at the Deep Space Monitoring Station, hidden far behind Pluto where no one could see it. The room was dark except for the blue glow of dozens of screens, showing empty space and distant stars. "What is it?" asked Sergeant Kim Biora from the station next to him. She was young, only 25, and had been working at the secret base for just 6 months. Most days nothing interesting happened. They just watched and listened to space. Recording everything they saw and heard, Ginho stared at his screen as numbers and symbols flashed across it. "We have a signal," he said slowly. "An emergency call. It's coming from way out there, past the edge of known space." The automated systems had picked up the alien transmission and were already working to translate it. Within seconds, words appeared on the screen in Korean, then in English. Ginho read them out loud, his voice getting quieter with each word. "This is the Zenthari vessel Kethmoran. Our jump drive has been destroyed. Life support systems are failing. 847 souls aboard. If anyone receives this message, please remember that we tried to make the galaxy a better place." Biora put her hand over her mouth. "Oh no, they're dying out there." Ginho was already reaching for the red phone that connected directly to Earth's military command. But before he could pick it up, another voice came through the speakers, this one much closer to home. "Deep Space Station. This is Admiral Kim Dae-ho aboard the UES Defiance. We received the transmission. Patch me through to Earth Command immediately." Ginho's hands moved quickly across his controls. The UES Defiance was one of Earth's most advanced ships, currently on patrol near the outer solar system. Admiral Kim was known throughout the Earth fleet as a good man who cared about his crew. But he was also someone who followed orders and never took unnecessary risks. The connection crackled to life, and Admiral Kim's face appeared on the main screen. He was a man in his 50s, with gray hair and kind eyes, but now his face was tight with worry. Behind him, Ginho could see the bridge of his ship, where crew members were working frantically at their stations. "Admiral," came the voice of General Lee from Earth Command. "We've reviewed the alien transmission. This appears to be a legitimate distress call from an unknown species approximately 40,000 light-years from Earth." "I know that, General," Admiral Kim replied. "My question is simple. What are we going to do about it?" There was a long pause. Jinho and Bora listened quietly, knowing they were hearing one of the most important conversations in human history. For over 50 years, Earth had been secretly watching other alien civilizations, learning about their technology and culture but never making contact. It was too dangerous, the leader said. Humans were still too young, too weak compared to the great alien empires that ruled the galaxy. Admiral General Lee said finally, "You know our protocols. First contact must be carefully planned and approved by the World Council. We cannot risk exposing Earth to potential threats. General, with respect, those people are going to be dead in 3 days. It won't be time for committees and paperwork." Admiral Kim turned to speak to his crew. Communications Officer Lee Min-ho was a young man who had joined the Space Force to explore the stars and meet alien life. Now he was listening to aliens die, and his face was pale with emotion. "Sir," Min-ho said quietly, "I have children back. On Earth, if my ship was dying out there in the dark, I would want someone to come for us. It wouldn't matter if they were human or alien. I would just want someone to care enough to try." Chief Engineer Han Sujin stepped forward. She was a brilliant woman who had designed many of the advanced systems on their ship. Admiral Awar, ships are faster than anything those aliens have ever seen. We could reach them in 72 hours, fix their ship, and be gone before they even understand what happened. And if it's a trap? Asked the XO Commander Cho Gu-woo. What if this is some kind of test by a hostile alien power? Admiral Kim was quiet for a long moment, staring at the transmission data on his screen. 847 lives, hanging in the balance. People with families, dreams, hopes for the future, just like humans. General, he said finally, I'm looking at the technical analysis of their distress call. These people have technology that's hundreds of years behind ours. They're scientists and explorers, not warriors. They pose no threat to anyone. Not the point, Admiral. Protocols exist for a reason. Yes, they do. Admiral Kim's voice became firm and strong. They exist to protect humanity. But what kind of humanity are we protecting if we let innocent people die when we have the power? To save them? Ginho watched as the Admiral made his decision. On the screen, Kim turned to his navigation officer, Lieutenant Park. Plot a course for the alien vessel's position. Maximum speed. Admiral. General Lee's voice was sharp with alarm. You are not authorized to make first contact? Not making first contact, General, Admiral Kim replied calmly. I'm making a rescue. There's a difference. Transmission from Earth Command cut off abruptly, but Admiral Kim didn't seem to care. Around him, his crew was already preparing for the longest, fastest journey any human ship had ever attempted. Dr. Vorthok was in the children's section of the medical bay when the alarm started screaming. The sound was so loud and sudden that several of the young aliens began crying. He had been trying to keep them calm as the air grew thinner and harder to breathe, but now even he felt his heart racing with fear. What now? Whispered Nurse Kella, one of the furry people whose ears were flat against her head with worry. Are we going to explode too? Vorthok left the children with Keela and ran through the dark corridors toward the bridge. Emergency lights flashed red everywhere, and crew members were stumbling out of their rooms, confused and scared. The ship had been so quiet for days that any sound felt like thunder. On the bridge, everyone was staring at the main screen with their mouths open. Captain Thyron was gripping her chair so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Report, Vorthok gasped as he reached the bridge. Multiple contacts, said sensor operator Kyloth, his voice shaking. Ships, lots of them. They just appeared. Out of nowhere. No jump signatures, no energy trails, nothing. 1 second empty space, the next second they were just there. Vorthok looked at the screen and felt his breath catch in his throat. 7 sleek ships floated near their dying vessel, each one larger than anything he had ever seen. They were dark gray with smooth lines and strange markings on their hulls. They looked powerful and dangerous, but somehow not threatening. Like sleeping giants that could destroy worlds but chose not to? Where did they come from? Captain Thyron asked in a whisper. Unknown, Captain. Their technology is unlike anything in our databases, reading power levels that should be impossible for ships that size. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of failing life support systems and people breathing hard. But were these mysterious strangers here to help or to finish what the energy creature had started? Incoming transmission, announced Communications Officer Bix, his furry hands shaking as he worked his controls. The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of showing the alien ships, it now showed the face of a creature unlike any they had ever seen. It had smooth pink skin, small eyes that seemed kind, and strange hair growing only on the top of its head. When it spoke, the words were in a language none of them recognized, but their translation computers slowly began to make sense of it. This is Admiral Kim Daeho of the United Earth ship Defiance, the creature said. Its voice was calm and gentle, like a parent talking to frightened children. We received your distress call. We are here to help you. Captain Thyron stared at the alien human he had called himself and could not speak for several seconds. Finally, she found her voice. You came for us. But how did you get here so fast? And how did you even know where to find us? The human admiral smiled, and somehow that simple expression made everyone on the bridge feel a little less afraid. Questions can wait, Captain. Right now, what matters is getting your people to safety. Our engineers are already studying your ship's systems. I believe we can repair your jump drive and restore full life support. Vorthok felt something he had not felt in days: hope. It started as a small, warm feeling in his chest, and then spread through his whole body. These strange beings had somehow traveled impossible distances to help people they had never met. But why? Vorthok asked, stepping forward. Why would you risk everything to save strangers? Admiral Kim looked directly at him through the screen. Vorthok could see something special in those small human eyes, a kind of warmth that had nothing to do with temperature. Because you asked for help, the human said simply. And because it's the right thing to do. Before anyone could respond, there was a strange humming sound. And suddenly, a human woman appeared on the bridge in a flash of light. Several crew members jumped back in fear, but the woman just smiled and held up her hands to show she meant no harm. Transporter technology, she explained. I'm Chief Engineer Han Soo-jin. Don't worry about how it works. Just know that we're going to fix your ship. She was carrying a bag full of tools that looked nothing like Xanthari equipment, and she moved with the confidence of someone who had solved impossible problems before. Her hair was tied back in a simple way, and she wore a blue uniform with strange symbols on it. Your jump drive, Soo-jin said, looking around the bridge with professional interest. The energy discharge created a cascade failure in your primary motivator coils, right? We've seen this before. It looks bad, but it's actually not that hard to fix if you know what you're doing. Dr. Kyloth stared at her in amazement. You've seen this before? But this type of accident is supposed to be impossible to survive. Impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet, Soo-jin replied with a grin. My team is already working on your ship. We'll have life support back to full power within 6 hours, and your jump drive should be working again by tomorrow. As if to prove her point, the lights on the bridge suddenly became brighter, and the air seemed to smell fresher. Throughout the ship, people began cheering as they felt the life support systems coming back online. Captain Thyron looked at Admiral Kim on the screen, then at Engineer Soo-jin standing on her bridge, and finally at her own crew, who were smiling. For the first time in days, I don't understand, she said softly. Who are you people? And how did you become so good at saving others? Admiral Kim's smile became a little sad. We're humans, Captain. And we became good at this because we never want anyone to feel as alone as we once did. 3 days had passed since the humans arrived, and the Kethmoran was alive again. The lights were bright, the air was clean and fresh, and people were laughing in the corridors for the first time in weeks. Dr. Vorthok worked side by side with Dr. Yoon Haewon, the human chief medical officer. Treating crew members who had been sick from breathing bad air, Vorthok watched the human woman work and felt amazed by her skills. Her hands moved quickly and surely as she used strange human medical tools that seemed to heal people faster than anything he had ever seen. She was young, maybe 30 years old in human time, with kind eyes and a gentle way of talking to patients. That made them feel safe. Your healing methods are incredible, Vorthok said as they finished treating a young Xanthari who had been very sick. Your people must have been studying medicine for thousands of years to develop techniques this advanced. Dr. Yoon stopped working and looked at him with a strange expression on her face. Thousands of years. Oh no, Dr. Vorthok. Humans have only been practicing space medicine for about 50 years. Vorthok's secondary heart stopped beating for a moment. 50 years. But that's impossible. Your ships, your technology, your medical knowledge, it's all so advanced. My people needed 2,000 years to achieve what you have. The human doctor looked uncomfortable, like she had said something she wasn't supposed to say. Well, we had good teachers. We learned by watching other species. Watching? What do you mean watching? It was quiet for a long moment, then she sighed. Dr. Vorthok, can I trust you with a secret? Something that could change how you think about my people? Vorthok nodded, his yellow eyes wide with curiosity and confusion. Humans have been hiding in space for decades, she said softly. We built special ships that other species cannot see, and we watched civilizations like yours from far away. We learned your languages, studied your technology, and copied your best ideas. You were spying on us? Vorthok asked, but he didn't sound angry, just surprised. Not spying to hurt anyone. We were learning so we could help when someone needed us. We built our entire space program around one idea that someday, somewhere, people would be in trouble and we would be ready to save them. Vorthok sat down heavily on a medical chair, trying to understand what he was hearing. You developed faster-than-light travel, advanced weapons, medical technology, all so you could rescue strangers. That's right. We knew we were young and weak compared to the great alien empires. But we also knew that being young didn't mean we couldn't be useful. We just had to be smart about it. Before Vorthok could respond, Captain Thyron appeared in the doorway of the medical bay. Her face looked troubled, and she was carrying a small computer pad in her hands. Dr. Vorthok, Dr. Yoon, we need to talk. I've been reviewing the humans. Rescue protocols and comparing them to our own history. She paused and looked directly at Vorthok. Do you know what I discovered? Vorthok waited, though something cold was growing in his stomach. In 3,000 years of space travel, Captain Thyron continued, the Xanthari Collective has never once sent a rescue mission to help strangers. Not once. We explore, we trade, we make alliances with people who can benefit us, but we have never risked our ships and our people to save someone we didn't know. The words hit Vorthok like a physical blow. He thought about all the stories he had heard growing up. Tales of brave Xanthari explorers discovering new worlds, making contact with alien species, building the great collective that spanned hundreds of star systems. But in all those stories, he could not remember a single time when his people had helped someone who had nothing to offer in return. That can't be right, he said weakly. I checked our historical records 3 times, Captain Thurin replied. We have detailed logs of every major space mission for the past 3 millennia. Trading expeditions, diplomatic missions, scientific surveys, military operations, but no rescues of unknown species. No humanitarian missions. No one ever thought to listen for distress calls from strangers. Dr. Yoon looked sad as she listened. To this conversation, it's not unusual, Captain. Most species we've observed are the same way. They focus on their own people, their own interests. That's normal. But it's not right, Vorthok said, his voice growing stronger. We call ourselves enlightened. We say we're bringing civilization to the galaxy. But what kind of civilization ignores people who are dying? Captain Thurin nodded slowly. That's exactly what I've been thinking. These humans are barely 50 years old in space, but they've already saved our entire ship. Meanwhile, we've been traveling the galaxy for 3,000 years and never thought to help anyone. Vorthok stood up and walked to the medical bay's small window. Outside, he could see human ships working alongside Xanthari vessels, their crews cooperating to make final repairs to the jump drive. Human engineers were teaching Xanthari technicians new techniques, while Xanthari scientists shared their knowledge of exotic energy phenomena with human researchers. Dr. Yoon, he said, without turning around, what makes humans so different? Why do you care about strangers when no one else does? The human doctor was quiet for a moment. I think it's because we remember what it feels like to be alone and afraid. Earth is a small planet in a dangerous galaxy. For a long time, we thought we might be the only intelligent life in the universe. We were lonely and scared. She joined him at the window, looking out at the busy scene of cooperation between their species. When we finally learned we weren't alone, we were so happy. But then we realized that space is huge and cold and empty, and that intelligent life is rare and precious. We decided that we never wanted anyone to feel as alone as we had felt. Vorthok turned to look at her, his scaled face reflecting deep emotion. So you built your entire civilization around helping others? Yes, because in a universe this big and dark, we're all family. 6 months after the rescue, Dr. Vorthok stood in the observation deck of Harmony Station, the first space station built together by humans and Xanthari. Through the large windows, he watched ships from both species working side by side, preparing to launch on missions that would have been impossible before they met. The station was beautiful in a way. that neither species could have created alone. Human technology provided the advanced life support and faster-than-light communications, while Xanthari knowledge contributed elegant designs and energy systems that would last for centuries. But the most beautiful thing about it was what it represented: two different peoples choosing to help each other, and anyone else who needed it. "The ZCS Compassion launched this morning," said Dr. Yoon Hae-won, as she joined him at the window. She had become his closest friend and research partner over the past months, and together they had saved hundreds of lives using techniques that combined human and Xanthari medicine. "Captain Thyron is commanding it personally." Vorthok nodded, feeling proud and sad at the same time. "She told me she learned the word compassion from Admiral Kim. We never had a word like that in our language. Before meeting humans, we had words for duty, honor, and loyalty to our own people, but not for caring about strangers." They watched as the sleek Xanthari rescue ship moved away from the station, its hull painted with symbols in both human and Xanthari languages that meant help is coming. It was the first of many such ships that the Xanthari were building, all based on human rescue designs, but improved with alien technology and engineering. "Look," Dr. Yoon pointed to another part of space near the station. "The UES Hope and the ZCS Mercy are leaving together." Two ships, one human, one Xanthari, were flying side by side toward the outer edge of the galaxy where another distress signal had been detected, as had become common over the past few months. Every rescue mission was now a joint operation, with crews from both species working together to save whoever needed help. The partnership had been made official 3 months ago when Earth was invited to join the Xanthari Collective. It was the first time in the collective's history that a species had been accepted based not on how advanced their technology was, but on their character and values. The vote had been unanimous after Captain Thyron told the story of the rescue. "To the collective's governing council, your people have changed us in ways I never thought possible," Vorthok said as they continued watching the ships. "For 3,000 years, we explored the galaxy thinking we were the most civilized beings in it. We built great cities, made amazing discoveries, and created art that lasted for millennia. But we never once stopped to help someone who couldn't. Help us back." Dr. Yoon smiled, but it was a gentle smile without any pride in it. "Maybe you just needed someone to show you it was possible. Now you're teaching others." That was true. The Xanthari rescue program had inspired other species to start their own humanitarian missions. The Vectal Empire, known for being cold and focused only on profit, had quietly begun sending medical supplies to poor worlds. The Thren Federation had established emergency response teams that could reach anywhere in their territory within days. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers, who usually avoided contact with other species, had started answering distress calls in their region of space. "What do you think makes humans so different from the rest of us?" Vorthok asked, a question that still puzzled him after all these months of working with them. Dr. Yoon was quiet for a long time, watching the stars through the window. Finally, she said, "I think it's because we never forgot that space is dark and cold and empty. Most species, when they become powerful enough to travel between stars, start to feel safe and important. They forget what it was like to be small and afraid." She turned to look at him with those kind human eyes that always seemed to see more than they should. But humans never forgot. Even when we built ships that could cross the galaxy, even when we developed technology that could save dying civilizations, we always remembered what it felt like to be alone in the dark. And we decided that no one should ever have to feel that way if we could prevent it. As if summoned by her words, Admiral Kim's voice came through the station's communication system. "All ships, we have received multiple distress signals from the Rigel sector. It appears to be a large convoy of refugee ships fleeing some kind of disaster. US Defiance and ZCS Kethmorin are responding immediately, along with medical ships from both fleets." Vorthok watched as more ships changed course and headed toward the emergency. The sight filled him with a warm feeling he had never experienced. Before meeting humans, the knowledge that somewhere in the cold darkness of space, people who were afraid and dying would soon see rescue ships appearing like angels of mercy. "The ZCS Kethmorin," he said softly. "They rebuilt our ship and turned it into a rescue vessel. Captain Thyron insisted on it." She said it should be the ship that shows other species what the Zenthari have learned about compassion. Through the window, they could see the beautiful ship that had once been dying in space, now strong and fast and heading toward people who needed help. Its hull was painted with the same symbols as the other rescue ships, and its cargo holds were full of medical supplies, food, and repair equipment instead of scientific instruments. Warthog smiled as he watched it disappear into faster-than-light travel. The galaxy was still vast and often cruel, but it was no longer empty. Humanity had taught them all that even in the darkest void between stars, there could be light if people were willing to carry it to those who needed it most. "Thank you," he said quietly to Dr. Yoon, "for showing us who we could become." She squeezed his scaled hand gently. "Thank you for becoming it." Together, they watched as more rescue ships launched into the darkness, carrying hope to distant stars.